Ellie, do you think the Justice Department is doing the right thing here, trying to block release of this affidavit?
Well, Jake, I'm not at all surprised that DOJ is resisting this. This affidavit, just so people understand, is the single most important document in this whole case. This is the document where prosecutors have to lay out in detail, in narrative fashion, what their probable cause is to believe that the crimes that we've seen in the prior documents were committed and that there would be evidence at Mar-a-Lago. And then they bring this document over to a judge who has to review it. And we know in this case did agree that it made out probable cause. And just for a sense of context here, the documents that were unsealed on Friday, they total 7 pages. This affidavit typically will be dozens of pages, 50 pages. I've seen 100 plus page affidavits. So, Jake, there's only 2 groups of people right now who have this document, prosecutors and the judge. Donald Trump does not have it. We don't have it in the public. I'm not at all surprised DOJ is resisting because to reveal this document would simply reveal the entire ongoing investigation.
There was speculation that perhaps DOJ was just going to, this was just about document retrieval. They issued a subpoena. They tried to get these documents. They went in there. They got the documents. They'd been attempted to do so more in a friendly fashion, but that didn't work. Now they have them back. But this refusal to disclose the affidavit and the language the Justice Department uses, talking about continued investigation, witnesses, grand jury, this suggests that there are criminal charges being brought, and it's not just a question of trying to get these documents back.
Yeah, Jake, this filing does confirm that there's an ongoing criminal investigation. And really, we knew that from the start because you cannot get a search warrant by just saying to a judge, hey, judge, there's classified information. We really want to get it back. In order to get a search warrant, as a matter of law, you have to establish probable cause that at least one specific federal crime was committed. We now know what those federal crimes were: Espionage Act, destruction of documents, and obstruction from last Friday's documents. But yes, this has been and remains an ongoing criminal investigation.
Is there a risk that the Justice Department, which a lot of Democrats and Republicans are saying needs to be more transparent about this unprecedented raid on Mar-a-Lago, is there a risk that the Justice Department, by trying to block the release of this affidavit, looks like they're trying to be too secretive?
Absolutely, there's that risk, Jake, and it's sort of a no-win situation for DOJ. By the book, as a DOJ prosecutor, it's an easy call. You fight this. You don't open up affidavits. You don't reveal ongoing investigations. But prosecutors also have to live in reality, and it's impossible to separate politics and law here. And I think the reality is it will look like there's a lack of transparency, and we're hearing calls for more transparency from both sides of the aisle.
Is the affidavit something that the Trump team would want to be made public for any reason?
It's a great question. I mean, one of the reasons why DOJ does not reveal these affidavits is because you're protecting the rights of the innocent, the presumption of innocence, the rights of people who've not even yet been accused. And just so people understand, we've not seen this document, but it would lay out in detail the probable cause that DOJ used to get in that search warrant. It would lay out probable cause that crimes were committed. I don't know that Donald Trump and his supporters would want that to be out there in the public.
Let's turn to the news now that Rudy Giuliani, Trump's former attorney, has been informed he's a target in the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney investigation into the Trump team's efforts to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia. What does that mean precisely, that Giuliani has been told he's a target?
Well, short of being told you've been indicted, Jake, that's about the worst news that you can get. Generally speaking, in any investigation, prosecutors separate people into 3 categories. There are witnesses who've done nothing wrong. There are subjects who maybe are in the gray area. And then there's a target. And typically what that means is that this is a person who is likely to be indicted. Now, it's worth noting the Fulton County DA has been very aggressive in the use of this target language. She has not only notified Rudy Giuliani, but at least 17 other people that they're targets. Now, none of them have been indicted yet, but it's still fairly early, and that could change sometime soon.
And today, a federal judge ruled that Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has to testify before that same grand jury in Fulton County, Georgia. Graham's lawyers, of course, can appeal. Do you think he'll ultimately prevail?
I think he's actually got a shot here, Jake. Lindsey Graham's argument here is based on an obscure constitutional provision called the Speech and Debate Clause, which basically says that sitting members of Congress cannot be forced to answer questions elsewhere. And Lindsey Graham's argument is this does relate to my legislative duties. Now, the federal district court judge rejected that, but Graham's next step is to appeal. He's going to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is generally seen as the second or third most conservative of the 13 federal courts of appeals, Jake.
Former President Trump is claiming that the FBI, quote, took boxes of privileged attorney-client material and also executive privilege material, quote, unquote, Could Trump try to go to court to block this entire process on those grounds?
So usually, Jake, procedurally, a person cannot challenge a search warrant until after he's been charged and prosecutors try to use that evidence against him. Donald Trump could try to file a motion here. I think he'd lose both procedurally. I think a judge would say this is premature. And I think also on the substance, even if either of those privileges attach, it doesn't mean you get to keep the documents. They're still property of the United States government.